Hey everybody, I want to talk to you today about what a property is really worth before you buy it. This is something that I'm very excited to talk to you about. It's something that I've done for many, many years, and I really want to go through with it. Market value isn't an opinion, it's truly evidence. Everything in this lesson should reinforce this single point. Zillow doesn't tell you what a house is worth. The seller doesn't tell you what a house is worth. Zillow just simply gives you an estimate. The seller has an asking price, but neither one tells you what buyers actually are willing to pay for a specific property. And that's where real value is found in this. If you trust either one without verifying it, you could overpay by tens of thousands of dollars. And I want to show you the process that I use as a professional appraiser before I even decide what a property is worth. And I want to talk today about changing how people think. I'm not going to teach you formulas. I'm going to introduce the concept of value intelligence. And it's a way of evaluating properties using evidence instead of opinions. Let's get going. I want to welcome all viewers. And Grow Wealth 101 is a platform that I started here in recent years, and I'm very excited to share it with you. My name is Brandon Beard. I'm an appraiser. I'm an investor. I've been an appraiser for approximately 22 years. I've been an investor for 18 years. I've evaluated tens of thousands of properties. I'm also the founder, as I said, of Grow Wealth 101. Very proud to have founded this great company where our mission is to help everyday professionals confidently realize great real estate investments before they risk spending money. Everything I teach you is based around one principle, as I said, value intelligence. And it's about learning to recognize using evidence, not emotion. And I'm going to share a personal story with you. And one of the things that makes me a good investor is that I have a great gift as an appraiser. And obviously, I cannot determine value off the top of my head. I'm constantly looking at different things. I'm looking at different models, and there's not necessarily a secret formula. Many people think that a secret formula is something that we have. Well, there are some tricks of the trade, don't get me wrong, and there's a lot of analysis involved, but I really think that anybody can do this. And the appraiser, as I've said before in other meetings, and I'll say it again today, the appraiser is a great resource for you, a great resource to really step out, to build a relationship with an appraiser, watch an appraiser in action. And I would advise you to shadow an appraiser in your specific market and realize that we as appraisers are not really guessing. People think that we guess. Well, obviously we have an educated opinion, but it requires support. And that's different than buyers, that's different than sellers, that's different than realtors. We have to truly support the values that we reconcile and that we determine. And that's something that I really want to share with you today. And we make opinions based upon adjustments to sales. And every conclusion must be defendable. As I've said, and I'll say it again, that it's very, very important to learn to defend what you have come up with in terms of your valuation. Well, how do you do that? Well, we as appraisers are not creating value. In my career, I've gone out to many properties and people ask me, well, you have made this up or you have looked at a few sales and determined a value. That is not the case. We do an expert analysis based on decades of experience in my case, and we really teach people what it takes to value properties. And so as an investor, it goes more to mindset. For years, I have counseled people, I've advised people about buying real estate. And many people come to me and they're like, well, can you teach me everything you know? Can I pick your brain? Well, I can help you out though, but you have to have the mindset that you want to move forward. You have to have the family support. You have to have your financial resources in order to take this to the next level. And you've got to stop convincing yourself that every deal is a good deal. I've looked at many properties over the years, and at times I have let emotion get the best of me, especially when I first became an investor. I looked for 2 years to find my first property. This is back in 2006. I looked at many properties. I met realtors at properties. I followed foreclosures, and it took me 2 years to finally pull the trigger. And at that point in time, I felt good about my first investment. It took me a while though, but I didn't have Grow Wealth 101. I didn't have the resources that I have today. I didn't have other colleagues to rely on. I didn't have other professionals in related fields that I trusted. And Grow Wealth 101, that's what we're here to do. We're here to pair you with the best people. We're here to teach you how to make that first step. I started learning the market as an appraiser, and then as an investor, it really took it to the next level. I was really looking at everything from a practical point of view in terms of income analysis. As a residential appraiser in my early first few years, I really didn't look at income analysis as strongly because I didn't appraise those types of properties. But as I became an investor, as I became a certified general appraiser and gained the knowledge over the last few decades, I've been able to take this knowledge and provide it to others. And this is where the foundation has really been laid with my rental property portfolio. Today, I have over 60 properties that are income producing, and my appraisal knowledge has translated into success in buying properties. Moving on, let's talk about Zillow. Zillow is a great tool. It's been around for a while, and it can be accurate, but sometimes it's not. And many people tell me that Zillow, their estimates, are high, they're low, that they may be right. The Zestimate is a tool that a lot of people use. As an appraiser, as an investor, I don't use that tool. However, I think that it can be a good tool to research individual properties, but I would not use their specific estimate for a property. They obviously have proprietary tools that they use, and they pride themselves on that. But I'm here to really, really get to the meat of how to value a property and how to look at it from an investor perspective. And accuracy is obviously important. With an online source, you really don't know how accurate that source is. What is the legwork that went into that? Was it based on computer models? Was it based on sales in that specific neighborhood? Was it taken from overall statistics? And I want, when I'm an investor, to look at a specific property, and select the best sales in that neighborhood that are most similar in terms of square footage, that are in overall similar condition, that really have those elements, and that I'm comparing apples to apples. And that's what I do as an appraiser. And I really never let one specific source determine an investor decision. I'm looking at the overall picture. I'm looking at multiple sources. Yes, I'm looking at our local MLS. Very, very good tool. And local MLSs do have public websites that you can use. But I will say, don't necessarily use the MLS as your sole source. In many neighborhoods, there are for sale by owner properties. And so that involves greater research. That involves searching local revenue commissioner websites. That involves searching probate records. So I encourage you to become familiar with the local databases in your market. First off, look at your local MLS. Take a good look at that. Become familiar with that. Use the search engine. You'll have many search engines that will start with the square footage. Do a reasonable square footage range. It will take into account bedrooms, bathrooms. It will take into account condition. It will take into account car storage. These are all things that you really need to look at. So in recap, let's use multiple sources when you're looking for properties. That is truly the key. The seller, quite honestly, should not know what a property is worth. They know what they have in the property, what they've spent for renovations. They know what they paid for the property. But an asking price may reflect what a seller wants to sell a property for, and to get the net that they have come up with in their mind that is a good return for them. That may be what a property is worth. It may not be what a property is worth. Let's really dive into this. Let's look at what sellers are motivated by. Is it because they're moving to an adjacent town? Is it that they're moving out of town? Is it because they want to upgrade to a larger property? Do they want to downgrade to a smaller property? Are they possibly empty nesters? And so that may give you a good clue if the price may be high or low. If someone is motivated to sell, they're going to likely price the property right. If they're just fishing and want to see what a property is worth, then they may not have priced the house accordingly. It may be priced too high. So you really want to get an idea of what the motivation is of the seller. And as I've said, the asking price is what the owner wants for the property. That asking price in a for sale by owner situation may be from the owner. It may be from an appraisal that the owner has gotten. So you really want to know that. I would ask the seller if by chance, do they have a copy of a prior appraisal? That's something that would be very, very useful. If a realtor is involved and the property is listed, the realtor may have pulled sales, may have done an analysis of the neighborhood and extracted a price per square foot from the neighborhood. That would be something as well. And market value, everybody, is really determined in what buyers are willing to pay for a property and what they actually pay for a property. Listings are a good way to analyze market trends. However, you truly need to know what properties have sold for. That is extremely important. And many people ask me about square footage. You can't just use the price per square foot. Yes, that is a very important tool to analyze properties, but there's so many more factors. It's not the only data point that you have. Your buyers purchase competing properties, but they take into account so many other factors. Value is influenced by things such as location, and location is determined by the overall underlying contributory land value. What is the land worth? You have one street, the land is worth, let's say, $100,000. You go over one street and the land is worth $50,000. So make sure you're comparing apples to apples. If you're dealing with acreage, look at the price per acre of what similar land parcels are selling for, raw land. Okay, that's going to give you a good idea of what the land is worth. Condition. This is a very, very important factor here. Has the property been updated? Are the kitchens updated? Are the bathrooms updated? These are all things that you need to consider. How about what we call as appraisers the long-lived items, the HVAC, the roof? These are very, very important factors. I looked at a property yesterday and it has a pool. Well, the pool pump is not operational. The owner told me that it would be $10,000 to $15,000 to replace the pool pump. Take those things into consideration. You may have a property that's a good property, but the condition is average, or it may be slightly below average. It may be fair. For an investment property, that may be an excellent opportunity to get a good deal on a property. It may not be a pretty property. It may not be a property that is appealing online when pictures are viewed, but if the bones are solid, you may be able to deal with the condition of the property. You may be able to just replace flooring. You may be able to do cosmetic items such as painting the property. Other cosmetic items could be replacement of countertops. Well, that's a more expensive expenditure, but let's say you replace the countertops, but the cabinets are solid. Look at that. Maybe you could just replace the hardware and keep the cabinets, paint the cabinets. These are all things that factor into condition. How about the age of the property? Is the property 10 years old? Is it 20 years old? Is it 150 years old? And so I'm looking at that now. If a property has been renovated, it may have what we call a lower effective age. An effective age takes into account the updating to the property, and the effective age is likely lower than what the actual age of the property. It takes all those factors into consideration. How about the floor plan? Is it a functional floor plan? Typically, the homes I buy have 3 bedrooms and 2 baths, but you may be in a market where a 4-bedroom is more rentable. And so take into consideration what other similar properties are renting for. Also, bathrooms. A few of my properties have 1 or 1.5 baths. However, most of my properties have 2 bathrooms. Very important to take into consideration. If you don't have a true primary bathroom. Many people are looking for that true primary bathroom. And so if they have to share a bathroom with the guest bedrooms, that may be something that you need to consider when looking at rents in the neighborhood. Let's look at the lot size. Is the lot similar to other properties in the area? Is it too large? The first home that I purchased has a very, very large lot, which is nice for the neighborhood. However, tenants don't typically want to cut the grass. And so do you have surplus land that is really not usable? So take that into consideration, especially in rural areas where lots may be larger. Let's look at car storage. Does the property have a garage? Does it have a carport? Does it not have car storage? In markets that require or buyers prefer car storage, take into that consideration. In urban areas, you many times have properties that do not have car storage. You may have to park on the street. And so there's not even a driveway for the property. So specifically look at what is common in your market. As I've talked about, take into consideration the number of bedrooms, the number of bathrooms. What is it for your market? The view. If you're dealing with a waterfront property, really take that into consideration. The view is very, very important, especially in resort type markets. And I will tell you, with condominium properties, what is the view waterfront? Is it of a pool? Is it an obstructed view? Really, really look at that and say, what does this factor into the overall value of the property? Does it impact the price per square foot? Does it impact the overall sale price? As an example, I have many condominiums I appraise, and depending on the floor level, a lower level floor may not command as much, but let's say hypothetically that a property on an upper tier floor commands $100,000 more. So look at that. Look at the waterfront amenities. Also in urban areas, look at the views in terms of whether they're commercial, whether they're residential. I just appraised a property yesterday that has a commercial view. I know that will impact the overall value of that property. So really take those items into consideration. And finally, look at the overall appeal of the property. Is it similar to other properties in the marketplace? Is it kind of the oddball property? For investment properties, I tell people it is very important to look at that from a perspective of, this is not a property that I'm going to live in, but it's a property that I'm going to have for a long time. I don't want to buy the oddball in the market. Moving on. Value is not subjective. Individual, especially buyers and sellers, are tied by emotion. Let's take that out of consideration. Let's look at what the market bears and not let emotion take over. Markets can be predictable. They most definitely can, especially when analyzing data in defined neighborhoods. Let's say you have a subdivision where the price per square foot ranges from $150 to $200 a square foot. That's a good range. That's a good neighborhood that you can extract a price per square foot and determine what a property is worth. Moving on, when you don't have enough buyers and you have repeatedly similar prices, that can really come into play. That establishes patterns. Those patterns emerge and become evidence of what a property is truly worth. And I really take that into consideration more than anything. I'm looking at the neighborhood. Maybe go back 2 to 3 years and look and see what properties were selling for back years ago. Look at what they're selling for today. What trends are you seeing? Is the market appreciating? Is it relatively stable, or is it declining? I most definitely would not buy in a market that is declining. A declining market can have impact on your financing. Lenders have products when they review appraisals that look for declining markets. They look for stable markets. They look for appreciating markets. So take that into consideration. I know that this may sound complicated, and the math really isn't all that difficult. And that's why at Grow Wealth 101, we have proprietary products that can help you with the math. We have spreadsheets. We have other products that can help you along the way. The difficult part is really recognizing the quality and the evidence. What truly is it? And this is where value intelligence is taught. And at Grow Wealth 101, we want to teach you how to do it. We want to teach you how to do it. We want to make sure that you have the tools before you buy your first property. And also, as an investor that may have bought 2 or 3 properties, we have analytical tools that can help you with that. So let us show you what to do. So if Zillow doesn't determine value, then what does? Well, we're going to really introduce the framework for that. And so moving on with that, today's goal is really awareness. And we're going to teach future lessons that allow you to truly execute. Let's take into consideration opinions. Let's not ignore opinions. Let's really put them to work. Sellers' opinions, take that into consideration. As we've said, look at the motivation of the seller. You've got neighborhood opinions. What's going on in that neighborhood? Have there been a good number of sales over the past 12 months? Have there been very few sales? Has the neighborhood appreciated any? Has it maintained its value going back maybe 3, 4, 5 years? That's one of the tools, guys, I really take into consideration. As what is the future of this market? Where do you see this neighborhood in 5 to 10 years? Look at that. Take into consideration all those factors. Zillow opinions, as we've discussed. Look at Zillow. I'm not saying not to look at Zillow. You can consider Zillow, but that's not the only tool. As I talked about in the open, look at the perspective from a realtor. Okay, take their opinions into consideration. They are in contact with buyers and sellers every day of the week. Okay, and at the end of the day, there's only one opinion that matters: what the market says. And that's what I want to teach you. We have private coaching available where I can go in and I can show you things with your market. I'm not an expert in every market, but I have the background to teach you how to do it. And that's where private coaching can come into play. We do have other products. We have our Portfolio Pro Builder, a great product, but we can also get you set up with other investors as well and other professionals. We have a great community. And these are all tools that I use in my practice, and I want to show you. All right, let's take into consideration sales. Obviously, you want to find similar homes, okay? Don't compare a property that is 5,000 square feet to a property that's 2,000 square feet and extract that price per square foot. Compare apples to apples. Maybe do a range. If you have a 5,000 square foot home, maybe do a range of 4,000 to 6,000 square feet. So I have bracketed the upper end. I have bracketed the lower end. That's a very, very good tool. Obviously, look at buyers. Buyers are really, really key in this. You have buyers that are moving in from competing neighborhoods, buyers that are moving from out of town. What are the trends in your neighborhood? Locations. What is the underlying contributory land value? One street may have a better contributory land value than the other. So it may be lower, it may be higher. Take all that into consideration. Finally, consider the time frame. What is the time frame with this? Are properties selling in less than 30 days? Is it taking maybe 3 to 4 months or even 6 months? If a market is taking 6 to 12 months to sell, that may be an indication of a soft market. And you may see some price issues with that market. Maybe property values have declined because sellers are reducing their prices. Now, declines are good in list prices, but look at the overall market. You may be able to get some good deals in those markets. Please don't discourage yourself from looking in those markets, but you want to look at the overall market. Let's look at similarities. Let's become a true detective. Let's ask questions. Let's gather information. Don't rush to conclusions. Look at the whole picture. Let me show you, either through private coaching or one of our other tiered products, what we can do for you. And we have the tools to help you analyze your specific market and make those informed decisions. Moving on. Every 2 properties are not identical. They're different in condition. They're different in square footage. They're different in appeal to the market. One property has a fenced backyard. Another does not. Another property has a pool. Another does not. One property has an updated kitchen, an updated bathroom. Take all of those into consideration. And differences matter. And that's where appraisers come into play. We can identify those areas that are different. I would encourage you to partner with an appraiser in your market. And appraisals are not cheap. They can be expensive, but if you're concerned, get an appraisal of that property. Even if you don't have financing involved, let the appraiser work for you. Let the appraiser show you what a property is worth. And investors should do this, as well. I really think that investors should look at the market objectively. They should look at appraisals. They should partner with appraisers, excuse me. And this is a good lesson. It really is a good lesson for everyone. I know several fellow investors, they call me, I give them information. I can't give free information to everyone, but taking that and really focusing on what a property is truly worth and use the appraiser to your advantage. Don't let the market influence you one way or another. The appraiser takes the emotion out of it and can provide you a true opinion of market value that is unbiased and supported by the marketplace. Let's look at true numbers. Let's not force a number. Many times people are looking to force numbers to, whether it be their pro forma, which is something that they're looking at to determine the value of a property. Well, the numbers speak for themselves, but don't force it. Let the market dictate that. Use your market tools. Don't overestimate the value of a property. Most newbie investors, that is what they do from the outset. They force the issue. They plug in a number to make their pro forma work. Don't do that. Have the evidence first, and the opinions come second. At Grow Wealth 101, we are reinforcing value intelligence. It isn't about memorizing formulas. It isn't about shortcuts. It's about learning to think differently. It's learning to recognize value the way professional appraisers do. Let us show you how to do it. Let me give you several mistakes that I see investors make over and over again. Believing that the asking price equals market value, a situation where I tell people, please do not do that. The asking price does not set market value. Research the market. Don't use Zillow as the final answer. Use other databases. Use your local MLS. Use revenue commissioner information from your local tax records. Use local probate records. Many times, local probate records require you to simply establish an account. Do that. Establish the account. Research off-market transactions. In disclosure states, you can find sale prices. You can also find mortgages on properties. Another mistake, falling in love with a property before analyzing it. Analyze the property, look at the property, then decide whether you want to buy the property. Looking for information that confines your opinion instead of really challenging it. Challenge your information, guys. Okay? Poke holes in it. Play devil's advocate here. Okay? Don't just adopt to adopt. Really look at the information and have your mindset set where you want to really find the best deal and what works. A big mistake people make is ignoring neighborhood differences. Compare apples to apples. Look at it objectively. What are the properties selling for in this specific subdivision, price per square foot? Well, in adjacent subdivision, the price per square foot may be totally different. Look at that, analyze that. Another mistake people make, outdated sales. Look at the most similar sales in the market. Occasionally you have to go farther back. I understand that. But look at what they are truly worth, okay? In terms of whether a property has sold recently. Did it sell 3 months ago? Did it sell 6 months ago? Did it sell 12 months ago? Look at that. Another mistake, comparing properties that are not similar at all. Look at that. And finally, don't allow emotion to outweigh the evidence. Look at it objectively. Look at it from a truly business perspective. Every one of these issues that I mentioned can cost investors thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. Don't let it do that to you. Let us show you how you can become the best investor with the best information. If you remember one thing from today's lesson, market value isn't someone's opinion. It's based upon evidence. Professional appraisers, they don't guess. They gather evidence. And successful investors, they do the exact same thing. Let me introduce you to our free community. I'm excited to tell you about it. If you're really serious about becoming a new confident investor, I'd love to invite you to join our free community at Grow Wealth 101. It's a place where everyday investors are learning value intelligence. We share educational content, answer questions, discuss real investing solutions, and help each other become more confident about making investor decisions. You'll find a link in the description below. In the next value intelligence lesson, we're going to tackle one of the biggest reasons investors overpay for properties. Because even if you understand the process, using the wrong evidence can still lead you to the wrong conclusion. And I want to thank you for joining us. And please go to www.growwealth101 and let us show you how investing can be made simple.